Hello everybody, Internet back again with another video, and today's video, guys, is going to be of course about previewing this US Open final between Rafael Nadal and Daniel Medvedev, this year's last Grand Slam final of 2019. Who will win, what will happen, what are my thoughts about this upcoming US Open final that we have ahead of us. First of all, the hottest two players are facing each other in the US Open final that we have seen during this hardcore North American swing between Rafa Nadal and Daniel Medvedev. Daniel Medvedev is playing his fourth straight North American hardcore swing final. Like we all know, he played final in Washington, lost to Kyrgios there, played final in Montreal, lost to Rafa Nadal there, and played in final in Cincinnati, won his first ever Master 1000 title there against David Goffin. And now Daniel Medvedev is playing his fourth straight US hardcourt swing final here in North America. And this is his first ever Grand Slam final as well, like we all know. And Rafa Nadal, he is not worse than Daniel Medvedev, my friends. He has only played one hardcourt tournament, North American hardcourt tournament this season, and that was of course in Montreal, where he was the victorious and defeated his final opponent here in US Open, Daniel Medvedev, in that Montreal final pretty convincingly, like we all remember, 6-3, 6-0. And now these two are facing each other here in US Open. Yeah, my friends, Daniel Medvedev, he has done a pretty solid year so far. This is his seventh final, I believe, Daniel Medvedev's. He is the player who has played most final this season, 2019, and he has won two titles this season. Daniel Medvedev won in Sofia, a small tournament, a 250 class tournament, and won his biggest victory in his career, that Cincinnati title 2-3 weeks ago. And Rafa Nadal, he has won three titles this season, two Master 1000 titles and one Grand Slam title. Rome Masters, Montreal Masters, and French Open, of course. And now Rafa will try to win his fourth title for the season and his second Grand Slam title. Like I said in my semi-finals preview, my friends, I thought that Daniel would defeat Grigor Dimitrov, which he did, and I thought that Rafael will defeat Matteo Berrettini, which he did. I could not believe that I read some social medias that some people thought that Matteo Berrettini would defeat Rafa Nadal. Come on, my friends, give me a break. To beat Rafa Nadal in slams, you really need to do your match of your life, because that is what makes this beast so special. You will never defeat him by just doing a solid match, not even by doing a good match. You have to do your match of your life. I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday, and he said he's a big Rafa fan. He said that to beat Rafa Nadal, you have to do a performance like Russell in 2012 Wimbledon, like Söderling in 2009 French Open, like Tsonga in 2008 Australian Open, like Juan Martin Del Potro in 2009 US Open. You have to produce one of your best matches of your life to defeat him, because that if Novak has the highest level that we have ever seen, at least in my opinion, Rafa has the highest, lowest level that we have ever seen. He never does bad matches. He, literally speaking, never does. Even that match in Australian Open final 8-9 months ago against Djokovic, Rafa was not bad. He was not bad. Just look at his stats. He only did 28 unforced errors against Novak Djokovic in that Australian Open final 8 months ago, my friends. Only 28 unforced errors. That is not a bad stat. To compare that with Roger Federer against Grigor Dimitrov, 61 unforced errors. That I call a bad match. That I call a weak performance. Or Roger Federer against John Millman in last year's US Open, when Roger did 77 unforced errors. That I call a bad match. Or Novak Djokovic against Dominic Thiem in that French Open semi-finals when Novak did 52 unforced errors. That I call a bad match. Rafa never does this kind of performances, my friends. And that's what makes him so special. That's what makes him so difficult to beat. You have to produce your best match of your life, or else you will never beat him. That's why I always feel so confident to predict Rafa winning his matches. I always feel so comfortable, especially when he not faces players who are not named Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic, especially the last mentioned one, Novak Djokovic, because all the others, Rafa really takes really good care of them. He really takes good care of them. He means business, because they don't have the tools, they don't have the weapons to threat him, especially not in 5 sets matches. And they will do, and these other players who are not named Federer or Djokovic, they will do kind of good performances, or at least not good, but at least solid performances, like Matteo Berrettini did in the semifinals when Matteo pushed Rafa, especially in that first set, and he had 2 set points. But it is not enough against this beast. It is not enough, because he never goes. He is there all the time. He is there all the time. He never goes like Kevin Anderson. I remember when he lost to Rafa Nadal in that 2017 US Open final, and a journalist asked him what makes Rafa so special, and he said he never goes anywhere. He doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't disappear anywhere. He is there all the time. And nobody can do this like Rafa does. Federer does disappear, Novak does disappear, Rafa never disappears. He never disappears, my friends. He is there all the time. He is there all the time, from the first point to the last point. And that's what makes him a nightmare to face. That's what makes him a nightmare to face. So Rafa is the overwhelming favorite in this US Open final, in my opinion. He is facing the hottest player on the planet at the moment, Nadal-Medvedev, who is playing his 4th straight, like I said earlier in this video, hard court North American final. His 4th straight. So he's not playing any easy dude. And Nadal-Medvedev is, to me, a version of Andy Murray, a new modern of Andy Murray, with a really solid baseline game, with a good serve like Andy Murray as well, pretty tall like Andy Murray as well. Pretty good he has pretty good defensive skills like Andy Murray, not that great offensive skills. Solid offensive skills, but not super great offensive skills like Andy Murray as well. I used to compare Nadal-Medvedev with David Federer before, but I've think about David Federer and his playing style. He reminds me even more about Andy Murray. So, and what did Rafa Nadal used to do against Andy Murray? He used to beat him most of the times. Not all the time, but most of the time. The head-to-head between Rafa Nadal and Andy Murray is 17-7. The Grand Slams head-to-head between Rafa Nadal and Andy Murray, it is 7-2. So Rafa Nadal had a big advantage against Andy Murray, and Rafa Nadal will have a big advantage against Nadal-Medvedev on their head-to-head. Rafa Nadal has faced Nadal-Medvedev only one time before, and it was 4 weeks ago in that Montreal final when Rafa destroyed Nadal-Medvedev 6-3, 6-0. They have only faced each other only one time. And will Nadal-Medvedev beat Rafa Nadal just on their second meeting? No, he will not, my friends. Nadal-Medvedev will beat Rafa Nadal, but not on the second meeting. He will do it maybe on his 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th meeting, not on the second meeting. No, I just don't think so. And when Nadal-Medvedev will beat Rafa Nadal for the first time ever in his career, it will be for the first time outside the Grand Slam, not on the Grand Slam. Because to beat Rafa Nadal outside the Grand Slam and to beat Rafa Nadal on the Grand Slams, it is a total different story. It is much more difficult to defeat Rafa Nadal on the slams because it is a 5-set battle. You have to play good amount of tennis for a longer period of time. You have to be solid. You have to be consistent for a longer period of time. You have to be a physical beast for a longer period of time. Will Daniel Medvedev be able to do that against Rafa Nadal, against the overwhelming favorite in this year's US Open final, Rafa Nadal, who has only lost one set so far in this year's US Open, and that was in that fourth round match against Marin Cilic in that second set. Only one set. And Daniel Medvedev, how many sets has he lost? Let me think here. Second round, third round, fourth round, and quarterfinals. He has lost 4 sets, Daniel Medvedev, if I'm not mistaken, so far in this year's US Open. The only match that Daniel Medvedev has won in this year's US Open in straight sets, if I'm not mistaken, it is the first round, and it was that semi-final against Grigor Dimitrov. These are the only 2 matches there Daniel Medvedev has won in straight sets. Only these 2 matches. The other 4 matches that Daniel Medvedev has won in this year's US Open, it has been in 4 sets, my friends. So it is clearly that Rafa Nadal is the overwhelming favorite in this match, my friend. It is clearly. I said that already when Novak Djokovic lost. This is Rafa Nadal's tournament to lose now. And when Novak Djokovic lost, and when Roger lost against Grigor in that quarterfinal, I knew that nobody will stand a chance against Rafa Nadal now. Nobody. Some people of you maybe think, but Daniel Medvedev is a hot fire player. He's the most informed player on the planet this year. He's playing his 4th straight hardcourt final. He's playing his 7th ATP Tour finals this year. He has played most finals this year of all the players. Yeah, I know that, my friends. But he doesn't match up well against Rafa Nadal. Like I said, he is a modern version of Andy Murray. And Rafa Nadal used to take good care of Andy Murray. And this is only their second meeting. Daniel Medvedev will not defeat Rafa Nadal already in his second meeting. And this is a Grand Slam match, even harder. Everything that Daniel Medvedev does so good, shot tolerance, solid from a baseline, tremendous good defensive skills, solid offensive skills, solid, not tremendous good offensive skills, in my opinion, from Daniel Medvedev. Great, decent serve Daniel Medvedev has, good, solid serve returns. Rafa Nadal does these things better. He has better defensive skills than Daniel Medvedev. He has better offensive skills than Daniel Medvedev. He doesn't have maybe better serve than Daniel Medvedev. This is the only thing that I can give the edge to Daniel Medvedev. He maybe has a better serve than Rafa Nadal. Probably. Even though Rafa Nadal has improved his serve tremendously if you look 10 to 8 years back on the time. But I can give this thing that Daniel has a better serve than Rafa Nadal. This is the only thing. Everything else Rafa Nadal does better than Daniel Medvedev. Defensive skills, offensive skills, returns, shot tolerance. Even though that Daniel Medvedev is a super ball machine, he really can blow, he really can trade. He will ask questions to Rafa Nadal, like he did against Grigor Dimitrov. Will you stand on with me from the baseline? Will you have the shot tolerance? He will ask the questions to Rafa Nadal, but Rafa Nadal will answer the questions. And not like Grigor. Grigor couldn't answer the questions exactly like I thought before the match. Grigor will do a lot of unforced errors. Grigor did. But Rafa will not do a lot of unforced errors. Rafa did only 18 unforced errors against Matteo Berrettini and struck 31 winners. But Matteo Berrettini is not the same player like Daniel Medvedev. Matteo Berrettini cannot ask the questions to Rafa Nadal from the baseline. He cannot challenge Rafa Nadal from the baseline. Matteo Berrettini is a total different player compared to Daniel Medvedev. So Daniel Medvedev will challenge Rafa Nadal more from the baseline. But as the longer match will progress, as the more Rafa Nadal will wear Daniel Medvedev down. He will wear him down like he did in that Montreal final. I remember that Montreal final 4 weeks ago. I saw that first game of that match, and Daniel Medvedev was challenging Rafa Nadal from the baseline. Their exchanges were brutal, and I thought with myself, because I previewed that final as well, and I thought that Daniel and I thought that Rafa will defeat Daniel Medvedev in straight sets in that Montreal final, and I was right. And I was telling myself when I saw that first game in that Montreal final, I said, because it was a brutal game, and Daniel had couple of break points opportunities in that first game in that Montreal final, if I'm not mistaken. And I said to myself, will Daniel Medvedev have a chance to defeat Rafa Nadal in this final? Because he's challenging him so brutal already in the first game. But that challenging from Daniel Medvedev was not hanging for too long. It was only in 3 games, because after those games that Daniel Medvedev won, he only won 3 games in that first set. Rafa just completely destroyed him 6-3, 6-0. So Rafa is a beast, my friends, and Daniel Medvedev knows this. You will never beat Rafa in 1 hour or 45 minutes. You will never defeat Rafa by hanging on with him for 1 hour or for 2 hours or for 3 hours. You have to be there for 4 hours. You have to be there for 5 hours. And you have to have a firepower. You cannot beat him with his own game. The only player that I've seen beating Rafa Nadal with his own game, it is Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic is the only player who has weared Rafa Nadal down from the baseline. He's the only player, and Novak has not done it all the time. Not a couple of times. A couple of times Novak has done it in Grand Slams, but he's the only player who has done it. Roger Federer cannot wear Rafa Nadal down. Dominic Thiem cannot wear Rafa Nadal down. Andy Murray cannot wear Rafa Nadal down, even though Andy Murray has defeated Rafa Nadal 2 times in slams. 2 times, but 1 time Rafa Nadal, he retired, and that was in that 2010 Australian Open, I believe. Rafa Nadal retired in that 3rd set. But 1 time he has weared Rafa Nadal down, Andy Murray, and then that was in 2008 US Open semifinals. But that is 11 years ago, my friends. That is 11 years ago. Rafa Nadal is a total different player now. Rafa Nadal is so much better tennis player, fast court player now than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, he usually uses to be only a clay court specialist. Even though he won Wimbledon 11 years ago in 2008 and Wimbledon in 2010 as well, and US Open and so forth in 2010, but he is much better player now, Rafa Nadal. He strikes much more winners now. He serves better now. He can kill the points much faster now, Rafa Nadal. So Rafa Nadal is, look at his stats. He was in Australian Open final, he was in Wimbledon semi-finals, and of course French Open he won. So, and who has Rafa Nadal lost in these Grand Slams matches this year? Djokovic in Australian Open final. Djokovic did his match of his life in that final, in my opinion. Djokovic did his match of his life, and he lost to Roger Federer in that semi-finals. Roger Federer did his in that semi-finals in Wimbledon. Roger Federer did one of his best matches ever against Rafa Nadal, in my opinion. Roger Federer served 68% first serves in. You know that Roger did a better semi-final than he did a Wimbledon final. If Roger would have served 68% first serves in against Novak Djokovic in that Wimbledon final, because Roger served in that Wimbledon final 63%, 5% less worse than what he did in the semi-finals. If Roger would have done a good as a match like he did in the semi-final, Roger would have defeated Novak Djokovic in that Wimbledon final. So what I want to say is that Rafa has had a tremendous high level in these Grand Slams in this season. He has only lost to greats like Djokovic and like Roger Federer. Will Daniel Medvedev defeat Rafa Nadal? No, he will not do it. I think Rafa will win this US Open final in straight sets. Daniel Medvedev is a tremendous good tennis player. He's shape of his life, absolutely. He's playing his 4th straight hard court North American final. But he doesn't have the firepower. He doesn't have the shot tolerance. He doesn't have the consistency from the baseline. He's consistent. Don't misunderstand me, my friends. He's consistent from the baseline. He's a super ball machine. But Rafa is even more consistent. Rafa will wear Daniel Medvedev down. Rafa will hit Daniel Medvedev. How do you defeat Daniel Medvedev? By hitting through him. You cannot. By hitting through him and by challenging him from baseline. Rafa can do both of them. He can hit through him with his tremendous forehand. He can challenge Nadal-Medvedev from the baseline. Rafa can defeat Nadal-Medvedev in two ways: hitting through him and challenging him from the baseline. How can Nadal-Medvedev win this match? He can win this match by doing his best match ever in his life. Everything he has done so far in this hardcore swing, he has to do it even better. And this is a US Open final. Rafa Nadal is playing his 27th Grand Slam final in his career, and Medvedev is playing only his first ever Grand Slam final. This is a really, really tough task for Daniil Medvedev to win his first ever Grand Slam final against one of the greatest tennis players of all time. And when Rafa Nadal will end his career, in my opinion, he will most probably be the greatest tennis player of all time, because I truly believe that Rafa Nadal will end his career with most Grand Slam titles from the big three. He will win his 19th Grand Slam title on Sunday, and then he will only be one Grand Slam title behind the leader Roger Federer. Only one. And considering how good Rafa Nadal is in all the slams, even the outside French Open, Australian Open, Wimbledon and US Open, and do not mention French Open, where Rafa is not even close of losing, only an injury will stop Rafael Nadal for surpassing Roger Federer's Grand Slam record of 20. Only an injury or a superior Novak Djokovic. Nobody else. So, Daniil Medvedev has a huge challenge ahead of him to win his first ever Grand Slam title against one of the greatest tennis players of all time, and in the future, the greatest tennis player of all time, in my opinion, Rafael Nadal. So I don't think Daniil Medvedev will win his first ever Grand Slam title. I think Rafael Nadal will win this US Open final in straight sets. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care and bye bye.